when two bikers began harassing an elderly man and his aging dog on the streets of Venice, California, they thought it was all just a joke. They laughed, mocked, and even kicked the dog for their own amusement, never realizing who they were provoking. Their target wasn't just any old man. It was Sylvester Stallone. And what they didn't know was that behind the quiet dignity of age, was a fire and a punch that the world had never forgotten. Please comment below to let us know where you are watching from. Venice Beach stirred under the soft haze of morning. The Pacific breeze still carried the memory of night, brushing over boardwalk benches, painted murals, and the smell of salt and sand. Oceanfront Walk remained mostly quiet, no skaters yet, no music blaring from smoothie stands, just the distant rumble of the sea. And walking through it all, slow and steady, was a man who had once made movie theaters tremble with applause. Sylvester Stallone, though you wouldn't have known it at first glance. Wearing a gray hoodie, old jeans, and sunglasses that had seen better decades, he walked without ceremony. No entourage, no camera flashes, just him and Bruno. Bruno, his 12-year-old bull mastiff, lumbered beside him with the quiet dignity of an aging warhorse. The dog's legs didn't move fast anymore, but he moved with loyalty, matching his owner's pace as though they shared the same wear and tear. Stallone didn't rush him. He never did. Mornings like this were sacred. He knew this part of Venice like the lines on his palms. His house, modest compared to the mansions up in Beverly Hills, sat just off Rose Avenue. From there, his path rarely changed. Down toward the old record store, past the vintage surfboard rental shack, and finally to Rosie's Pet Goods, tucked between a bike repair shop and a vegan cafe. He liked the routine. After decades of running, training, performing, pushing, this felt like breathing. And most people in the neighborhood treated him like anyone else. Sure, a few recognized him, and some whispered as he passed, but he wasn't here to play Rocky anymore. He was just Sly now. A man trying to grow old with grace, with a good dog by his side. But peace doesn't last forever, not even in Venice. They heard the engines before they saw them, low, angry sounds cutting through the morning like knives. 4 motorcycles barreled down the boardwalk, ignoring pedestrians, kicking up sand, and revving like they were auditioning for a noise complaint. The lead rider was built like a linebacker, vest open to show tattoos and scars, a skull emblem stitched on the back reading, "Wolfpack Riders, Venice Chapter." As they passed, one of them barked, "Yo, check it out! It's Rocky Balboa walking his grandma's carpet." The others burst into laughter. Another chimed in, "That dog limps worse than he does." Bruno flinched but kept walking, unfazed. Stallone didn't flinch. He didn't turn. But his jaw tightened slightly, and his hand dropped gently to rest on Bruno's head. There was no rage, just a silence that spoke volumes. In his prime, he might have said something, maybe even thrown a punch. But now, there was wisdom behind his restraint. A man who had lived long enough to understand that strength often meant walking away. He kept walking. At the corner, he turned into Rosie's Pet Goods. The bell above the door jingled, and the warmth of the shop welcomed him like always. "Morning, Mr. Stallone," said Tina from behind the counter. A widow in her 60s, Tina had run the shop for kids and treated every animal like royalty. Hey there, Tina. Need the usual. Bruno's not impressed with the last batch. Tina chuckled, already reaching for the peanut butter bones and a new tug toy. That was when the door flew open again. The bell didn't jingle this time. It clanged. The bikers strolled in, still laughing from their own jokes, phone cameras rolling. Well, well, the scarred one said, if it ain't the Italian fossil. Another added, you gonna teach us how to throw a punch, Rocco? Or are those knuckles just for back rubs now? Tina stepped forward. This is a place of business. Buy your food or get out. The tallest biker turned to her, smug. Just having a laugh, ma'am. Right, old man? Stallone looked him in the eye. His voice came low, like gravel beneath a tire. Buy your food. Move on. And don't disrespect the dog. Muh. They laughed again. Bruno let out a soft growl. The scarred biker faked a trip, his boot connecting lightly, but deliberately, with Bruno's side. The old dog yelped and stumbled. That stopped everything. Stallone crouched beside Bruno, his face unreadable. He didn't raise his voice, didn't make a scene, but his silence was so heavy that even Tina stepped back. He gathered the dog slowly, picked up the treats from the counter, paid in cash, and walked out the door. Scared now, huh? The bikers yelled after him. Old man can't even defend his mutt. The video went up on TikTok by lunch. Over 300,000 views by dinner time. Comments flooded in. Some defended him. Most mocked him. Washed up, pathetic, a shell of a legend. Guess Rocky really is just a movie, one said. That night, Stallone sat out on the back porch. Bruno lay beside him, muzzle resting on a his shoe. The only light came from the dim porch lamp and the flickering television inside, playing an old rerun of Bonanza. The world didn't feel heavy out here. Not yet, but trouble has a way of lingering. The next morning, he found graffiti on his front gate. Rocky's dead. His mailbox was shattered. At 2:12 a.m., the sound of engines outside jolted him awake. He didn't bother calling the police. By the time they'd arrive, the wolves would be gone again. And then came the night that changed everything. He had gone out to grab milk from the corner store, just a 10-minute walk. When he returned, the back door was ajar. Bruno's leash was lying on the floor. His water dish was untouched. His breath caught in his throat. He searched every room, every closet, the backyard, the alley. Nothing. Then he found the note, folded, taped to the hall mirror, written in black marker on lined notebook paper. Come get your dog. 11 p.m. Boneyard lot. Don't bring cops. Bring your balls. He stared at the note for a long time. So long that the clock ticked past dinner. The tea kettle screamed on the stove, long forgotten. The only sound in the house was the buzz of an old fridge and the soft creak of hardwood beneath his bare feet. Eventually, he walked into the garage. There, in an old wooden crate tucked beneath a canvas sheet, were the gloves. Leather faded to almost gray, fingers curled in from years of use. He didn't put them on. He didn't have to. Just holding them brought back the weight, the sweat, the breath of the ring. And something else, too. The quiet voice inside, the one he thought had gone for good, returned. They took the wrong dog, and this time, Rocky wasn't staying silent. At exactly 10:45 p.m., Sylvester Stallone stood alone at the edge of the boneyard lot, a grim patch of cracked concrete near the old Venice skate park where abandoned cars and graffiti-covered dumpsters served as witness to decades of forgotten challenges and broken promises. The Pacific breeze was colder than usual, whipping across the open space like a quiet warning. Overhead, street lamps flickered weakly, casting long shadows that stretched and bent like restless ghosts. Stallone wore the same hoodie from that morning, the same jeans, and on his hands, nothing but age. He hadn't brought gloves. He didn't bring a weapon. The only thing he carried was resolve. He walked forward in silence, boots echoing softly, as he stepped into the ring of headlights arranged in a rough circle by the bikers' motorcycles. The engines idled, humming like sleeping beasts, their chrome frames glinting in the low light. A small crowd had gathered, mostly young men with phones in hand, ready to stream whatever spectacle they were promised. Some laughed, others whispered, but all of them stared. No one offered a greeting. No one offered help. That was fine by him. Bruno wasn't there. Stallone saw no leash, no water bowl, no crate. He scanned every face, but found no answers. Then the leader stepped forward, the one with the scar down his cheek, the same man who had mocked him in the pet store. Drex, built like a linebacker and cocky like a child who'd never been taught consequences. He held up his hand to silence the crowd, then pointed across the circle. "You finally showed, Grandpa," he smirked. "Told the boys you had some fight left in you. Now, let's see if Rocky's still got it, or if he's just a story we tell our dads." Stallone didn't move. His hands were by his sides, relaxed, but aware. His eyes were locked on Drex, not with anger, but with a kind of stillness that came from knowing exactly who you were and exactly what mattered. Drex kept talking. "We made it real simple. One punch, you get one free shot. If you drop me, you get your dog back. If not, well..." He looked around, chuckling. "We'll see if Bruno's got a better right hook." A ripple of laughter passed through the crowd. Stallone didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. "Where is he?" he asked, his voice low and weathered. Drex nodded toward one of the bikes. From behind it, another biker dragged out Bruno. The old dog looked tired, scared, and confused. His leash was knotted, his ears low, but the moment he saw Stallone, he whimpered and tried to lurch forward, only to be yanked back hard by the collar. Stallone took a step forward instinctively. Drex warned, raising a hand. "Not until we finish our little test." Chun. The crowd closed in slightly, their phones now recording. "Do it!" someone yelled. "Come on, Rocky. Show us that movie magic." Stallone looked at Bruno once more, then slowly walked toward the center. Drex squared his stance, puffing his chest and grinning like a man convinced he couldn't lose. "You get one punch," Drex reminded him. "Just one. Make it count, legend." Stallone didn't reply. He stepped into the circle, feet planted shoulder-width apart. He stood in silence, as if listening for something deeper than the noise around him. A memory, maybe. A rhythm. Then he took a slow breath. His left foot shifted back, his torso rotated just slightly. He didn't wind up like a Hollywood boxer. He didn't make a show of it. What came next was clean, pure, and sudden. His right fist came around in a hook so tight and fast it seemed to break time. There was no hesitation, no wasted motion. The punch connected, flush with Drex's jaw. A short, sharp nap that echoed off the alley walls like a hammer, striking steel. Drex's head whipped sideways. His body spun half a turn before crumpling to the ground in complete silence. No groan. No protest. Just gravity and defeat. For a moment, no one moved. Then gasps filled the circle. One of the bikers swore under his breath. A phone dropped. Another kid laughed nervously, unsure of what he had just witnessed. Stallone turned toward Bruno, walking slowly but firmly. The biker, holding the leash, hesitated, then dropped it without a word. Bruno rushed forward, weak but eager, his tail thudding against Stallone's leg as he pressed his face into the man's thigh. He knelt down, resting his forehead against the dog's. "You're okay," he whispered. "You're all right now." Behind him, Drex still hadn't moved. A few of his friends knelt down to check on him. Stallone stood up and turned, looking over the faces now lit by confusion and unease. The tone had shifted. This wasn't a show anymore. It was something raw, something true. "You think age makes you small," Stallone said, voice calm but carrying. "You think wrinkles mean weakness, that because we move slower, we feel less. But I've buried friends. I've lost a son. I've held a dying dog in my arms and begged God to take me instead. You don't know pain. You don't know love. And you sure as hell don't know respect." No one interrupted. The wind rustled through the lot, cold and honest. "I didn't come here to fight," he continued. "I came here to bring my dog home. And if you ever touch him again, or any living thing for your own amusement, you better pray someone more patient than me finds you first." He turned and began walking away, Bruno beside him. The crowd parted wordlessly. Some stepped back, others lowered their phones. No one followed. That night, no police reports were filed, no interviews given. But the video, recorded from 5 different angles, hit the internet before sunrise. The headlines weren't about a punch. They were about what came after. "Rocky punches out Venice biker, then delivers a master class in dignity." Stallone's silence was louder than any fight scene. What we just witnessed wasn't a knockout. It was a lesson. Comments flooded in. Older viewers left paragraphs about honor, about watching their childhood hero still standing tall. Younger ones shared clips with captions like, "Respect your elders," or they'll remind you why they earned it. But through it all, one quote kept getting repeated, posted, shared, and printed on shirts and posters within days. "I didn't come here to fight. I came to bring my dog home." Back on Rose Avenue, the porch light of Stallone's house glowed gently as he sat in the same spot as always. Bruno curled at his feet. He sipped his tea slowly, watching the horizon begin to lighten. No fans, no cameras, just another morning. And when the sun finally rose, it did so quietly, just the way he liked it. The morning after the confrontation at the Boneyard lot, Venice Beach awoke to a kind of quiet reverence. Coffee shops buzzed with murmurs, not just about the weather or the traffic, but about the video. A few blocks from the coast, at a little diner called Mickey's on Main, the regulars, mostly folks over 50, passed phones across the counter to show each other the footage. Stallone, standing in the middle of the lot, silent as stone. Then that punch. That single, perfect punch. It wasn't just the power that stunned people. It was the precision, the control, the dignity he carried before and after the blow landed. For many who watched, it wasn't about violence. It was about what it meant to be a man, a protector, a person who chose when to speak, when to act, and when to simply walk away. Up on Rose Avenue, Stallone moved through his morning without ceremony. He didn't check the news, didn't open his phone to see the countless messages waiting. He fed Bruno, poured himself black coffee, and sat on the back porch with the same quiet grace that had carried him through the decades. Bruno lay beside him, dozing in the sun, his body still sore, but no longer trembling. The porch creaked slightly under Stallone's weight as he leaned back in the chair, his eyes resting on the garden fence where a single red cardinal had perched, watching the world as if it too were waiting for what came next. But not everyone in the city was reflecting. By noon, the Wolfpack Riders' garage was in chaos. Drex had a swollen jaw and a fractured pride. Half the club wanted to lay low. The other half, fueled by embarrassment and rage, wanted revenge. It wasn't just about a fight anymore. It was about image, about pride on the internet, where a video could ruin your reputation in a day. "We can't let this slide," one of them barked. "We're a crew, not a comedy act." Drex, holding an ice pack to his cheek, said little, but in his eyes, a plan had already begun to take shape, one that would twist sympathy into outrage. Later that afternoon, as Stallone walked Bruno around the block, he began noticing the shift. More people greeted him than usual. Strangers nodded respectfully. A man in a truck slowed down just to say, "That thing you did last night? Thank you." A mother, walking her two daughters, paused to let them pet Bruno. "He's brave," she said softly, "like his owner." "Wow." Stallone offered a quiet smile, but inside he wrestled with the attention. It wasn't what he had wanted. All he'd done was defend his dog. Defend what mattered. He never expected to be a symbol again. But symbols have a way of spreading. By evening, news crews were setting up near the lot. YouTubers made analysis videos, breaking down his form like it was a championship replay. Former wrestlers called it a textbook hook. Veterans commented that Stallone carried himself like a man who'd been through real war. But what caught Stallone off guard was the flood of letters that arrived within 2 days. Handwritten notes, typed messages, voicemails, emails, and even flowers left at his gate. Veterans, grandmothers, teenagers, single dads, nurses, all writing to say thank you. Not for the punch, but for standing tall when it mattered. One letter in particular came from a 12-year-old boy named Jesse from Albuquerque. It was written in blue pen on lined notebook paper with the words slightly crooked. My dog's name is Rocky. Some older kids tried to hurt him once. I couldn't stop them. But when I saw your video, I told my mom I want to be brave like you when I grow up. Thanks for protecting your dog. I know how much they mean." Stallone read the letter twice. Then he folded it and placed it beside a photo of his late son. He didn't cry, but his silence deepened, became heavier. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about what people saw in him, what they needed to believe in. The Wolfpack riders, meanwhile, were facing consequences of their own. The video had gone too far. Animal rights activists identified them, called for boycotts of local businesses that supported their meetups. Former members of the club publicly denounced Drex's leadership. Sponsors pulled funding. A local Venice City Council member issued a statement condemning their actions. And just when things couldn't seem to get worse for them, another video surfaced. This time from a helmet cam worn by one of the bikers. It showed the full event from the inside. Bruno's whimper, the laughter, the threats, and Stallone's voice cutting through the tension with eerie calm. The footage validated everything and worsened the blow to their reputation. Drex tried to salvage what he could. In a last-ditch effort, he offered a public apology, saying, "We took things too far. We disrespected a man who deserves better." But it came too late. The internet had moved on, away from them, and towards Stallone. Back at home, Stallone was finishing a quiet dinner when Tina from the pet store knocked on the door. She brought Bruno a fresh toy and a bag of treats. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said, her voice shaky. "You didn't just defend your dog. You reminded the whole damn city what it means to stand for something." Stallone nodded slowly. "Wasn't trying to make a point," he replied. "Just wanted to bring him home." She looked at him for a moment, then smiled. Sometimes, Sly, just bringing someone home is the point. That weekend, Stallone and Bruno returned to the same path. Same hoodie, same pace, but this time, people stepped aside not out of fear, but respect. A teenage boy stopped his skateboard and called out, "Hey, sir, what you did? My dad showed me. He said to always stand up when it counts." "Thank you, man." Stallone gave a nod, then turned to Bruno. "We did all right, huh?" As they passed a mural being painted on the side of an old cafe, Stallone paused. The artist, a young woman in her 30s, was brushing in the outline of a man in a hoodie kneeling beside a dog. Beneath it, a quote in bold script, "I didn't come here to fight. I came to bring my dog home." Stallone watched quietly, then whispered, "Let's go, buddy." Bruno wagged his tail, slow and steady. They disappeared down the boardwalk as the mural dried in the sun, and the waves of Venice kept rolling, just as they always had. But somewhere between the sea and the street, a message had taken root, etched not in stone or film, but in the hearts of those who had watched a man of few words stand tall for the one soul that never left his side. And that, more than any punch, was what people would remember.